A single blade is all I require. It is all any true master of the Force or of the lightsaber should need. Those who wield saberstaffs with their double blades and flourishes seek to compensate for their inadequacies. They hide their lack of skill behind unnecessary complexity, believing that intimidation or spectacle can substitute for true command. It is folly. The saberstaff offers no advantage that a singular blade in the hands of a master cannot overcome. The weapon does not make the warrior, the will, the discipline, the mastery of the wielder do. During the Clone Wars I studied under Count Dooku, a master of Makashi, and the last true duelist of the Jedi Order. Dooku and I shared a disdain for the stagnant, pathetic state of Jedi combat. They had grown soft, their techniques dulled by endless conflicts against droids and blasters, rabble, foes far beneath the challenge of a trained Force sensitive. Dooku recognized the potential within me, and though he was not my true master, he refined my skill with the lightsaber. Under Dooku's tutelage and Palpatine's manipulation, I have become a weapon unparalleled, forged to be the downfall of Jedi and Sith alike. I knew what I was becoming. Even then, just as Dooku was a master, so too would I surpass him. And in time I did, casting aside his lessons as I destroyed him. He was a stepping stone, a necessary link in the chain that led to my ascension. Where Dooku's pride bound him to tradition, I embrace power in all forms, but never at the cost of discipline. This is why I disdain the advancements of the ancient Sith, of Exar Kun. Exar, for all of his brilliance, relied on shock and awe rather than pure, concrete, unstoppable, refined skill. His double-bladed lightsaber was a marvel of engineering to be true, but a symbol of his dependence on spectacle. Even his cunning dual-phase functionality, which I have admittedly integrated into my own weapon, reveals the same reliance on trickery. To Exar, such tactics were a means to victory, but I see them for what they truly are, crutches for the weak. True skill lies in command, not in deception. A master of the lightsaber does not require tricks or surprises to defeat an enemy, only discipline, precision, and the will to dominate. I am that master. My lightsaber is singular, like my purpose. My enemies crumble because I am stronger, more disciplined, better. Whether Jedi, Sith, or misguided soul who dares challenge me, they all fall to the same truth. The blade is an extension of the warrior, and the warrior defines victory. Vader, despite his mastery of the Force and the lightsaber, held strong opinions about weaponry and various combat styles, especially as a Sith Lord. Many of them reflected his rigid philosophy about power and skill. One of the more intriguing aspects of his views, though, was the disapproval of Exar Kun's choice of a double-bladed lightsaber. Vader considered this weapon to be cheap, stating that it allowed the user to rely on its inherent versatility rather than their own skill. For Vader, true mastery meant achieving dominance with the traditional single blade, a weapon that demanded precision, discipline, power. Yet despite his disdain for Exar Kun's double-bladed lightsaber, Vader found admiration in another one of his innovations, the dual-phase function which we just mentioned. This rare modification allowed a lightsaber to alter its blade length mid-combat, providing an element of surprise, one that embraced cunning and deception, qualities that Vader himself wielded to deadly effect. Unlike the double-bladed weapon, which Vader dismissed as a crutch, the dual-phase feature aligned with his belief of using one's intelligence and adaptability to win the day. To Vader, deceit was not a weakness, but a tool for the strong, and he implemented this feature into his own weapon, crafting a lightsaber as versatile and deadly as its wielder. Interestingly though, Vader's disdain for the unorthodox combat style extends beyond Exar Kun and his lightsaber. He also disliked the Form 6 variant Jar Kai, the art of dual-wielding lightsabers. Despite having practiced this himself both as a Jedi and a Sith, Vader regarded the use of two lightsabers as unnecessary, believing that it diluted the focus and precision required for true mastery of a single lightsaber. Yet on rare occasions, Vader deliberately employed Jar Kai in combat, not out of necessity, but as a display of superiority. In these instances, it seemed as if Vader was handicapping himself intentionally, giving his opponent an advantage so that he could overcome and demonstrate his dominance. These moments revealed a deep aspect of Vader's personality. He needs to prove himself as the ultimate warrior, a man who could defeat any challenge not through reliance on trick, skill, or tools, but through sheer skill. By adopting tactics or techniques he despised, he could underline his own mastery by succeeding where others would fail. Vader's complex relationship with combat styles and weapons all speak to the duality of his character, a Sith Lord who valued cunning, but despised perceived shortcuts, a warrior who embraced deception, yet demanded purity of skill. It is the contradiction that makes Vader's use of a dual face function and the occasional forays into Jar Kai so compelling, as they show a man simultaneously committed to and at odds with his own ideals. Lord Vader's mindset and approach to lightsaber combat were deeply rooted in discipline and dominance. For Vader, lightsaber combat was not merely a martial skill, but was an expression of power, will, and mastery over one's enemies. His philosophy was shaped by his training as a Jedi, his battles during the Clone War, and his transformation into a Sith. Each stage of his evolution honed his belief that pure, singular mastery of a single blade was far more impressive than reliance on the unorthodox or the gimmicky techniques such as double-bladed lightsabers. His mindset and philosophy would also alter over time. He believed in the principle that the lightsaber was an extension of the warrior. To him, the effectiveness of a duel was not determined by the complexity of the weapon, but by his skill. Vader had a foundational training in the classic Jedi forms, and refined them under the tutelage of Dooku. He's interesting because he varies from most Sith in the way that he fights. He learned from Dooku's emphasis on elegant, precise movements of Makashi, the duelist form. This allied with Vader's disdain for the chaotic, flashy techniques that he associated with weaker combatants. Vader viewed lightsaber combat as a psychological battle as much as a physical one. His towering presence, his deliberate movements, and devastating strikes were designed to intimidate and overwhelm. Vader sought not just to defeat his enemy, but to break them, leaving them in awe of his power in their final moments. For Vader, combat was a demonstration of superiority, and every encounter was an opportunity to reaffirm that fact. Vader's combat style was characterized by overwhelming offense, relentless pressure, and impenetrable defense. He combined elements of Form 5, Form 2, and Form 3 in order to crush his opponent both mentally and physically. His relentless pressure, Vader used immense physical strength and to deliver powerful sweeping strikes designed to exhaust and overpower his enemy. His blows were calculated to break their defense and force mistakes. He also had great economy of movement. Unlike the acrobatics of the youth of Anakin, Vader's movements were deliberate and efficient. He conserved energy marvelously. This allowed his cybernetically enhanced body to fight without growing tired whatsoever. As long as Vader relied on his cybernetics, he could theoretically fight indefinitely. But he also had psychological domination. His sheer presence and unyielding approach created an aura of inevitability. He used fear as a weapon. He unsettled his opponents before he fought them. He also had force integration. Vader seamlessly incorporated the force into his style, using telekinesis, force chokes, and other abilities to throw his opponents off guard. Disdain for the double-bladed lightsabers continued though for Vader. Vader's view of double-bladed lightsabers as obsolete and a sign as an unskilled warrior. His criticism stemmed from several beliefs. They believed that they were unnecessarily complex. The double-bladed lightsaber introduced complications. They detracted from the purity of single-bladed combat. Its user relied on versatility and reach, but those advantages were nullified by a skilled duelist who could exploit those limitations. It also had a lack of precision. Double-bladed lightsabers required wide sweeping movements, which Vader considered inefficient and prone to creating weaknesses in one's guard. Vader believed that defensively, one blade was superior. He also believed that inherently it compensated for weaknesses. To Vader, wielding a double-bladed lightsaber meant the weapon was to distract or overwhelm with spectacle over skill. He viewed this reliance as the weapon's design as evidence of a lack of a personal mastery. Vader's approach to training was also an unforgiving one, both for himself and others. He constantly sought to perfect his skills, believing that complacency was a path to weakness, a lesson that he learned through his failings as Anakin. He relentlessly drilled the fundamentals of lightsaber combat, ensuring that his mind remained sharp. Focus, precision, power, efficiency. His training emphasized adaptability as well, ensuring that he could counter any opponent, blaster wielders, soldiers, force sensitives, anything. To Vader, double-bladed lightsabers were unworthy for the techniques that he had mastered. It was a shortcut, an elaborate weapon that ultimately went nowhere in his mind. To Vader, lightsaber combat was a reflection of a warrior. A single blade symbolized control and power. Double-bladed weapons represented weakness, a reliance on an unnecessary tool. These are all thoughts that were formed by Dooku. To Vader and Dooku, they believed that superiority in dueling came from the wielder of the lightsaber, never the lightsaber. But as always, my friends, what are your thoughts on this? And if you would like more lore on Lord Vader or lightsabers, the archives are waiting for you. All you must do is reach out and subscribe. But as always, my friends and fellow students of the Force, thank you so much for visiting us here today, and I will see you in the next holocron.